Hey guys, what is up people? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new to this channel, I would like to give my introduction. I am Laisha Kohli and I am here to educate, motivate and analyze a few things related to education. If you are new, please do not forget to like and share this video, and obviously you have to subscribe to my channel. So guys, in the previous video we discussed about the digestive glands and the chapter Digestion and Absorption for class 11th. So in this video we are basically going to move further to the digestion process and also a few things related to that. So please watch this video till the end so that you don't miss out on anything. So let's get right into the video. So guys, as I said in the previous video, we discussed about the digestive glands. So I would just like to give a recap to you all that there are three types of digestive glands in our body. That is the salivary glands, the pancreas and the liver. We have discussed all about it. So please watch the previous video. If you haven't, I will definitely share the link in the description below. So please click on that video. So in this video we are going to move towards the digestion of food. So let's just move into it without further ado. So guys, the digestion basically begins in our buccal cavity. Buccal cavity has two major functions, that is mastication or chewing of the food and swallowing of the food. So the mucus in our buccal cavity helps in lubricating the food and turns the food into bolus. What is bolus? After we chew the food, process the food, the thing obtained is known as the bolus. After the buccal cavity, the food moves into the esophagus and the peristaltic movements are followed all along the gut. I suppose you all know what is the meaning of peristaltic movements as we have learned in class 10th. Now coming back to the saliva contains a number of things, that is enzymes, amylases, lysosomes and also sodium, potassium, calcium and bicarbonate. So please remember what the saliva contain. Now the salivary amylase, what is the function of salivary amylase? The salivary amylase helps in hydrolyzing or digesting 30% of starch in the buccal cavity itself, and it converts the starch into maltose, and maltose is a disaccharide. Starch here is a polysaccharide, so salivary amylase basically breaks the polysaccharide into a disaccharide, maltose, and the pH required for this is 6.8. So this process is happening in the buccal cavity. So the pH in the buccal cavity is slightly acidic, that is 6.8, as 7 is neutral. So guys, after the esophagus, the food moves into the stomach. Now the stomach has three types of cells. The first is mucous neck cells which secrete mucus. The second is chief cells which secrete proenzyme pepsinogen. The third is oxyntic cells which secrete hydrochloric acid and intestinic factor. What is the use of this intestinic factor, guys? It basically helps in the digestion of B12. What is B12? B12 is basically required for the functioning of the brains and for our bones. Now the stomach. The stomach basically stores the food for 4 to 5 hours and mixes it and converts it into chyme. What is this chyme? As the food was converted into bolus in the buccal cavity, so the stomach also mixes up the food with the gastric juice, processes it, and the final product we get is chyme. Now proenzyme pepsinogen, what is the use of this? Before moving into the use of proenzyme pepsinogen, basically this is an inactive enzyme and this is activated by HCl into pepsin. So for the functioning of proenzyme pepsinogen, HCl is very much important and the pH of the stomach is 1.8 when HCl is released. Now the use of pepsin. What is the use of pepsin? Pepsin basically helps in the digestion of proteins into peptones and proteoses. Also in the gastric juice in the stomach, renin and lipases is also present. What is the function of renin? Renin is basically present in the gastric juice of infants for the digestion of milk proteins. Now the small intestine also generates various types of movements, and the food is acted upon intestinal juice, pancreatic juice, and the bile juice. So all three juices are released in the small intestine for the digestion process. Now the pancreatic juice, that is basically secreted by the pancreas, contains trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, procarboxypeptidases, lipases, nucleases, and amylases. Guys, please don't take any tension. You actually have to just remember these names. If you read it 2 or 3 times, you will be able to remember these names for sure. So these are trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, procarboxypeptidases, lipases, nucleases, and amylases. Also, all these are present in the inactive form, means none of these are present in the active form. Now trypsinogen, that is the first enzyme, is activated by an enzyme known as enterokinase. Now from where did this enterokinase come? This enterokinase is basically secreted by the intestinal mucosa only. So it is secreted by the intestine, and this helps in activating trypsinogen. And here trypsinogen activates all the other enzymes except lipases. We will come to the point why does it not activate lipases, but for now trypsinogen activates all the other enzymes. Now this is all the enzymes of the pancreatic juice. Coming to the bile juice does not contain any enzyme. It only contains bile pigments, that is, 2 main bile pigments are bilirubin and biliverdin, bile salts, cholesterol, and phospholipids. It does not contain any other enzymes. Bile, as we know already, helps in the emulsification or breaking down of fats into micelles. Now this bile activates lipases. Trypsinogen activates all these others, and bile activates lipases. That is, lipases is not activated by trypsinogen. And from which enzyme trypsinogen is activated? Trypsinogen is activated by the enterokinase. Now the mucosal epithelium has goblet cells. Goblet cells secrete mucus, as we all know. The intestinal juice is also known as the succus entericus, that is, the juice secreted by the intestine is also known as the succus entericus. Now this juice basically contains maltase, dipeptidases, lipases, nucleosidases, etc. We will come to the function of these shortly. Now these proteins, peptones, and proteoses are broken down into dipeptides by trypsin, chymotrypsin, and carboxypeptidases. Now you guys must be wondering, why are these names trypsin, chymotrypsin, and procarboxypeptidases if these were trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, and procarboxypeptidases? That is because those were in the inactive form and these are present in the active forms, which helps in breaking down of proteins, proteoses, and peptones into dipeptides. Now the polysaccharide starch is broken down into disaccharide maltose in the presence of amylase, as we all know. The fats are broken down into diglycerides and monoglycerides by lipases. I have already discussed this previously. The nucleic acids are broken down into nucleotides by nucleases. So what are these nucleic acids? Nucleic acids are basically RNAs and DNAs. We will discuss about this in the chapter 8. Now the succus entericus, that is the intestinal juice, What is the function of the intestinal juice? It breaks down dipeptides, which are digested forms of proteins, into amino acids in the presence of dipeptidases. It breaks down maltose into glucose plus glucose in the presence of maltase, lactose into glucose plus galactose in the presence of lactase, sucrose into glucose plus fructose in the presence of sucrase, di and monoglycerides into fatty acids plus glycerol in the presence of lipase, and nucleotides into nucleosides and then sugars plus bases in the presence of nucleotidases and nucleosidases. Guys, there is no other alternative. Instead of learning all this, we really have to learn all this, otherwise you cannot give your examinations, because these are the main parts of this chapter and there is no other alternative or easier way to learn it. So my suggestion is, please sit with the book or sit with my notes given in this video, and it will be really easy for learning them, as I have created small flow charts in between. Simple substances are absorbed in the jejunum and ileum region of the small intestine. All these enzymes are acted upon the food in somewhere in these regions. Now coming to the large intestine does not actually play a role in digestion, but it helps in absorption of water, minerals and certain drugs. Also, it secretes mucus. So after all the water is digested, the food is converted into feces. What are these feces? Feces are undigested and unabsorbed substances which enters into the cecum region through the ileocecal valve and is stored in the rectum. Now, we obviously know the functions of valves. For a recap, I would like to say valves prevent the backflow of substances in our body. So it does not help the food to flow back, but it helps the food to flow forward. So this is basically the function of the large intestine. So guys, basically all the activities of our intestinal tract are under the control of our neural system and the hormones. Neural system we refer to CNS, basically that is the central nervous system. So the gastric and the intestinal secretions are secreted by our neural signals. Muscular activities of different parts are also under the control of the CNS as the central nervous system, and secretions of the digestive juices, that is the stomach, in the stomach the gastric juice, or in the intestine the pancreatic, the bile juice and the intestinal juice, are in the control of the hormones. So now the absorption of the digestive products. The end products are absorbed by the intestinal mucosa into the blood or in the lymph, as we all know. So before we move into the absorption process, there are basically 3 transport mechanisms that we have already studied in class 9, but some of the students, including me, have forgotten them. So I would just like to tell you guys. So the first transport mechanism is the active transport. What is the active transport? Basically, when substances move from a lower concentration to a higher concentration with the use of energy is known as active transport. So the substances which are absorbed in our body using this active transport are amino acids, monosaccharides like glucose, and electrolytes like sodium. Passive transport, the second one. What is passive transport? It is basically the process of diffusion where the substances from a higher concentration moves to a lower concentration without the use of energy. New concept which is in our body. Glucose, amino acids and chloride ions basically it is transportation with the help of a carrier protein. So the glucose and amino acids are basically absorbed by the facilitated transport. Now comes the fatty acids and the glycerol. These cannot be absorbed into the blood directly. There is a different pathway for the absorption to take place. So they are first incorporated into small droplets called micelles, which then move into the intestinal mucosa. Then they are broken down and they are reformed into small proteins coated with fat known as chylomicrons, which are then absorbed by the large lymph vessel of the villi known as lacteal. So basically, these are first broken down into micelles, then they move into the mucosa, then they are reformed, they are broken and they are formed again into small proteins coated with fat, and then they are absorbed by the lacteal. So the main absorption in our body happens in the small intestine. Then the food is assimilated. What is the meaning of assimilation here? It is basically the usage of the absorbed food which gives us energy or ATP. Now the digestive waste. The digestive waste is obviously feces. It solidifies and is stored in the rectum. Now certain neural reflexes causes an urge for its removal, the removal of feces. Waste is moved out through the anal opening and is known as defecation. So the process of removal of feces from our body is known as defecation. So guys, this was the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching this video. There will be part 3 of this chapter coming soon. So guys, please do remember the important points that I have told in this video. They will really help you in your examinations, and if you're preparing for any competitive exams like NEET. Guys, please support my channel as this is a new channel. Please like this video, subscribe to this video, comment down below on how did you like this video. Please give me new suggestions on which video should I make next. Subscribe to my channel, tell your friends, relatives to subscribe to my channel and turn off on the post notification so that you can be notified every single time I post a new video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will be back with another video very soon. See you all. Bye bye.